Welcome everyone to a brand new edition of Move Monday. I would like to also thank anyone who joined our AMA in India. Was it like an hour and a half ago? So we started at 8:30. So thank you for everyone who's joined both that one and this one as well. And I'm just going to start with introductions because I feel like I skip that every single time. My name's Greg. I'm the host of Move Mondays. I'm a developer relations and I do developer relations, and as well as I'm a founding engineer here at Aptos. I work on the developer experience with the SDKs, the tools, and the APIs. And additionally, we have an exciting guest here today, Lava, to talk to us about their decentralized infrastructure. And I would like to go around and start with, I'm going to screw up somebody's name. We'll start with Ger Klepper.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name is very tricky, every time in different language. Originally, I'm from Israel, and my name is Yair. But when you have a video, I'm much more like to show you how you pronounce the name correctly. So next time about that. Yeah, happy to be here and happy to be part of the Aptos family.
Thank you for that. My name is Kagemni Karimu. I'm the DevRel engineer at Lava. Excited to join as well.
Great. I'm glad to have both of you guys on here today. Why don't you tell the audience what is Lava?
Yeah, definitely. So, Lava is a decentralized network of top-tier API providers that developer can subscribe for access to any blockchain. And originally we started by building Lava because we felt that there is a gap, because we've seen that there are lots of different problems on the main and very, very core infrastructure piece, which is RPC. And in a nutshell, we realized that there is a natural evolution in the way that node infrastructure have been built obviously by starting at, everyone was running their own node in order to get the access to blockchain data. And once the blockchain adoption grew up and such an amazing new chains, new communities emerged, it's a bit more tricky and obviously impractical to support all of these different chains. So RPC is actually the communication protocols that allowing every dApp, every client to communicate with the node infrastructure. And we believe that this layer is still centralized. And in order for us to being able to build scalable applications on top of the blockchain, we need to build a decentralized network that actually providing this scalability, providing this privacy. And basically, we're building the most reliable RPC service for any chain.
Yeah, running your own RPC node is confusing in itself. I know because I've run nodes for several different blockchains before, tried it out, and usually you have to understand way more than you expect you would just to access the blockchain. So generally, then for certain blockchains, you end up going to centralized providers like Alchemy or whatever else just to be able to access them. So that's pretty cool. So what makes it different than the rest of the RPC market?
Definitely. So I think, in order to understand better what we're bringing to the table, we want to, I think that is wise to start where RPC is coming from. And in order to fetch transaction, read write data from the blockchain, you need RPC. So as I mentioned before, everyone at the beginning were running their own node, and this is how they were maintaining the state of the blockchain. They were reading, writing transaction, getting the balance, and and everything around that. But at the same time, once you have a lot of multiple chains, this is the era where the centralized provider you mentioned before really lowered the barrier to entry. So they said something very simple. They said, don't worry about the infrastructure and don't run your own node. We're going to do it for you. And this is how we've seen in the last few years the adoption grew up of the blockchain so much. And at the same time, the access is broken because you see now that the fragmentation of the service, and it's heavily dependent on the centralized provider. They offering service for the chain. You have to use them in order to get access to the blockchain data, but at the same time, it's not private. There is no censorship resistance, and it's trust-based, right? Because you cannot verify the data is actually from the blockchain. So we were thinking in Lava, if we will be able to create this open standard that is a community-based protocol and provide blockchain access by connecting dApps to a decentralized network of API provider, that could be a game changer. So we offer a one-stop shop for blockchain APIs, and everyone wants to come and build can do it on Lava.
That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, like I was thinking about the developer experience one day, and I realized that nobody wants to run their own node. Like people they just want to build their dApps. They don't want to worry about, oh, like I have to run a full node, and then I have to make sure it's up to date, and I have to make sure it doesn't fall over. So that's good to know. So what are the benefits though to using Lava over, say, these centralized providers?
I'd like to jump in here if I could, Yair.
Yeah.
So I think that one thing we should emphasize is that Lava doesn't necessarily compete with the centralized providers. It provides an opportunity for all of the RPC providers to compete with each other. So Lava as a protocol empowers anyone, no matter if they're a single person running a node or if they're a large centralized provider, to compete in an open source and fair marketplace where they have to provide a certain quality of service that's guaranteed to everyone in order to continue to get preferential treatment. So basically, another way to look at Lava too is that it's not restricting or competing with the centralized providers. If people find those offerings to be useful, we encourage as much RPC use as possible. As we know, everything in the blockchain space is powered by RPC, but it really just gives an opportunity for even more RPC to be made available in a trustless, permissionless way to as wide of an audience as possible. I think one of the benefits of using Lava as compared to some of the centralized offerings that already exist is that this open source standard thing is taken very seriously. You can very easily, through specifications, add new chains. It's as simple as making a JSON file with the correct configurations and then submitting that for an on-chain vote. Once it's voted in, that API specification becomes available for providers to then offer their RPC endpoints on that chain with those specifications to potential consumers. So it opens up a marketplace, a network, a protocol for all sorts of different, whether you're a provider or a consumer, to really interact in a trustless, permissionless, and as I think Yair was saying, secure fashion with a minimum quality of service.
I'm actually interested a little bit in the details here. Does it like provide like a market between each of the node providers? How do you incentivize or decentivize them from providing good service?
So the easiest way to understand it is to think that every single time a relay is made, that is a provider connecting to a consumer submitting a relay to a provider. So Lava actually works by providing a pairing list, and that pairing list is full of different providers. And those relays that the consumers send are sent at random to a provider on that pairing list. Now, providers, once they provide the data from the request that they serve to the consumer, are actually scored by those consumers. They're scored across latency. They're scored across freshness. They're scored across availability. And it's all handled in a peer-to-peer way. That determines both provider rewards and determines the likelihood for them to appear on a future pairing list. So what it does is just guarantee a minimum quality of service. Of course, there's also availability requirements in the sense of if someone goes offline, they get pulled from the pairing list. We call that jailing. So there's they have to restake on the network to reappear on the pairing list. But these are the sorts of things that prevent the quality of service from dropping below at acceptable levels. I'll say excellent levels.
That's exciting. Hopefully,
I would like to add on top of that, this market creates amazing opportunities to existing node infrastructure. Think about if suddenly there is an NFT drop in a faraway region that usually you don't give service there. That can actually invite and attract the node provider, the centralized node provider to come in and provide service at this time because the incentives are much higher, because it's much more rewarding if they have just idle service upon their in the day-to-day. And this is what we create. We create a unified, much more incentivized framework that allow a honest behavior by the different centralized provider.
that's exciting and amazing. I mean, yeah, that's actually a problem I was thinking about the other day. I actually had just learned about Lava just then. The fact of we end up with all these centralized providers, but you don't really have the accountability other than the fact you may pay for the service of what is the uptime and all of that to provide the quality of service that you want. Especially in our blockchain, we are relatively new since we launched in October. This was actually a problem we thought about ourselves, and we sort of decided we would just have a place to advertise them in the Discord. But in the future, this will obviously gives a much better way for small node providers and all that.
Definitely, yeah. And that's actually, sorry, Kageman, just one note on that. One week before you actually launched Aptos, we met with Mo in your event in New York, and I was really inspired and excited about his focus about the decentralization, right? Because I think he was telling me that this is the beautiful part that move. It's a community first. And that's the beauty part of decentralization. It's a huge priority for the Aptos network and massive for the development of Move. And we thought that if Aptos want to reach billions of people, and if Aptos wants to have all of these great benefits that bring it to the community, but without the disruption, without downtime, I think our vision here are at the same page. And that pushed us to start to the integration for Aptos.
Yeah, totally. The decentralization is a very important part, especially of the Aptos blockchain. So saying about that, how are you guys integrated with Aptos? How are you supporting it?
So if you go to gateway.lavanet.xyz, you can currently very easily, upon signing up, retrieve an RPC endpoint for Aptos through our gateway offering, as well as through our server kit, which is available through a GitHub repository. I would recommend visiting docs.lavanet.xyz to learn a little bit about that. But you can use our server kit to access the Aptos endpoint. So we do offer RPC through our network for Aptos currently. And when we open up to providers, we'll allow providers to host the RPC endpoints as well.
I have a question on that. How would you support different providers build their own additional APIs on top, as well as API updates that come from the Aptos blockchain?
This is why our spec system is so awesome. I think I mentioned earlier that through simple submission of a JSON file, you can determine the specifications for a given RPC service or API. And it's really easy to just send updated specs to the blockchain, have them voted upon and adopted through on-chain governance. This means that with a few smart developers, you get rich APIs. You get the ability to specify specific requests or calls within that JSON and submit it to the blockchain, and it can be accepted just like that. So it's pretty simple. It's a pretty straightforward process as far as that goes.
That's amazing. And how does the on-chain governance work for this?
The validators are able to vote once this proposal is submitted. And so once there's enough yeses, then it's adopted immediately.
Cool. I'm assuming that they're incentivized because they want more people to be running on Lava.
Absolutely. I think that what we see right now is that the majority, because there's a separation of roles within the Lava network, someone can be both a provider and a validator. So in fact, sometimes you'll see of our 1,000 plus validators already, you'll see that many of them want to become providers. And so, of course, they'll be incentivized to have as many chains and offerings as possible on the network.
That's amazing.
That's also I think it's a very interesting point. When we thought about how designing Lava, we thought about the different actors, obviously there, and I see that this thing that is saying, if you want to be a provider, you don't need to be a validator. If you want to be a validator, you don't want to be a provider. We have dApps that also have initially started the infrastructure and running nodes. So suddenly they becoming a provider. And this whole ecosystem of Lava is really complementary for each other. And we see interesting use cases, but obviously when time comes, we're going to share also how the activity is on Aptos.
How do you guys, by the way, how do you guys handle rate limiting from the incentivization and decentralization? Because I know one of the big things that people often comment to me is the rate limits on our public good endpoint that we provide from Aptos Labs.
That's a great point. And actually, it's a teaser because we didn't want to share that. However, if you touch the point, we're now working on a very, very special approach that's going to decentralize the public RPC endpoints. That's going to take the Aptos token instead of using different currency and make it much more appealing for providers in this decentralized public RPC. Obviously, through the service, we are able to determine based on the subscription that the dApp is using, what kind of tier is signing up to, what kind of rate limit, how many requests per second, what's the maximum per month. And I think this is another very interesting model that we're bringing, kind of the SaaS for the token. And we're looking at the different tiers as something that dApps can flexibly use, because if they signing up for a few months time, for 6 months, for 1 year, obviously we are able to control much better the way they're paying for that. And I think this will cause eventually the equilibrium that we're looking at.
If I can just add to that, we're working towards, and I think Yair's speaking to this, on-chain subscriptions, which I believe is already implemented. It's a great feature. You pick the plan you need. There's plenty of policies. It's easy to use like a SaaS business. And what it offers you is basically the similar thing that you would get with a centralized provider, where you're paying, say, X dollars or X tokens per set time interval or duration. And within that, you get a certain amount of compute units, which is how we measure the amount of computation required to fulfill an RPC request. So you basically know how much you're being rate limited up front based upon a predetermined amount that you pay with the subscriptions feature. It's a really great feature. I think it's going to transform the way that a lot of people use RPC because it gets us away from the per relay payment style.
I see. So then you have one way to deal with it instead of having to go with each and every person individually. That's cool.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So your future roadmap on Aptos, what's going on? What's the alpha?
Well, we're currently offering direct access to Aptos data using REST, and developers, as I mentioned before, building on Aptos can start using our gateway and server kit. They can join our builder community and help us improve the network as we build towards mainnet. The other thing that I have to mention that I'm very excited about is our SDK. The Lava SDK is a JavaScript, TypeScript implementation that allows people direct communication between if they're a developer and a provider, it's all peer-to-peer. So it's plug and play. We've got a live alpha test going on right now with a small group of testers. And it's going to easily allow you to integrate decentralized access into your project just by importing the library. So behind the scenes, it handles all the operations to implement the protocol and basically allows you to instantly get the Aptos RPC. And another thing that I've heard our engineers say is that we can integrate Aptos SDK using Lava SDK. So that's something that we're looking forward to.
And on top of that, we see that strong dApps want to come to the Aptos ecosystem. They want to build, and currently they're in other ecosystem. Now they want to join also Aptos. So this is one of the core benefits of Lava, because it's one standard for entire Web3. If you want to migrate from Ethereum to Aptos with Lava, it's super simple. You don't need to start signing a contract with centralized provider, rely on SLA. You use Lava, and you don't need to trust that the network will always offer great service. I think this is what brought currently to Lava in the last 2 months since we are in a public testnet. It brought more than 1,000 validators that already sign up to serve on Lava. And I think that this is what we are also inviting the great community of Aptos to join us and help us build a much more reliable RPC service for Aptos.
That's awesome. And how can people get involved? How can they list their RPC nodes?
Right now, you can check us out, use the gateway for free RPC, share your feedback. We're doing user interviews. We're incorporating feedback from everyone. As I mentioned, SDK testing is going on, so contact me. Check out our new website, our light paper, our docs, our GitHub, lavanet.xyz. It's easy to find, easy to see all the things from there. You can follow us on Twitter. We've got Cosmos content and tutorials coming out. Another major thing is join our community on Discord. We have a really awesome community calls with a really, really, really vibrant and growing community. We've got engineering call updates that let us know, let everybody know what we've been working on and how the community can be involved in the development process. So there's a lot of ways to be involved. I would just recommend, if you haven't already, gateway.lavanet.xyz, or just go to the website and check us out, because once you get in the docs, you can see how to spin up a validator. You can see we're not currently allowing providers to onboard, but we're definitely looking for people who are interested in providing to scope out the network and have some experiences with us.
Kugemni, we need to mention also that the docs have been translated already by the community to more than 11 languages. So I think it's really transparent for everyone to come and join.
Yeah, and I would just like to mention for everyone, hit the follow button on each of these people. I'm glad to have all of you guys up here today to talk about other things. We also pulled up Austin, who will also help me answer questions and he's got a better vibe than me about more informal vibe than me, I would say.
This is not true. I'm like the most formal person there is. Greg's lying. This is about to be a lot of not fun for everyone, so get ready. But man, no, this is really cool. It was awesome to see the Lava team out in East Denver as well. I think that's kind of what like spurred a lot of this. We were talking to you guys for a while, and then things dropped off, and then we saw each other, and we just kept running into each other at East Denver. So we had to make it happen.
That's where super, we really appreciated that, and the way that you're welcoming us to the community. And I think the conversation and how we can support each other, and also some beers, if I recall correctly, were there?
I was red wine. I don't do gluten, so I was
sorry.
I was on some
Probably
red wine.
Probably too much beer for me.
No, it's cool. I mean, what you guys are doing is really cool. And I think in general, just like the infrastructure space, we haven't done many like infrastructure spaces. So being able to highlight a lot of things that go on behind the scenes is really important. I think a lot of our community, when we do this, only get a glimpse of what happens on the UI, UX, like the front end side. But really the meat of the heavy lifting happens on the infra side. And it's, teams like yourself who make all of these applications possible.
And this is exciting, Austin. When I think about Aptos and I see so many different use cases there, I want if I want one thing to take from this conversation by the community, I want everyone who is building a project and looking on scalability, looking on a reliable RPC service, looking also about APIs. In addition, this is a home that Lava can bring to the Aptos ecosystem.
Yeah. Where'd you get the name Lava? Where'd that come from?
I've been in the startup scene for many years, and we like always to come up with cool names in Israel. Lava, actually, me and my Gil, my co-founder, when we thought about the beginning, and we bumped into this problem of infrastructure. We were thinking like, how come the infrastructure is so centralized? How come you have single point of failures? People trusting middlemen. It didn't make sense for us. And we were thinking about how would you name, what's the name you're going to give for a project that is actually running underneath us, that gets everywhere. It could be very deadly. But if you use it right, it's actually the energy of Earth, and that was basically Lava.
Okay, I like that. That's really cool.
It's cool. Then if you make a hardened product, it can be Obsidian or something like that.
The wordplay is endless. The wordplay possibilities are endless.
This is awesome. Is it possible to get a co-host spot so I can see who's trying to come up as well? Can I bug you guys for that?
So it's a good segue right now where I want to say, hey, if anyone wants to come up and ask any questions for us or the Lava team, please comment on up.
Or if you just want to like be friends and hang out,
Yeah.
You don't have to ask questions.
You
have to ask great questions. You just gotta come be friends. I want to bring as many people up as I can.
I'd like to take a quick opportunity also to just give a little bit more context to something I said earlier. I think I said about providers that were not currently open to the public. We do, however, have a provider incubation program open right now. We're onboarding community node runners, and that's really to create strong foundation for the network. So we've already onboarded lots of top providers. We got announcements coming soon, and at mainnet, it'll be fully permissionless. So if you're interested in that, come ask on Discord, join us. I'm the DevRel engineer, so I'm happy to talk to anyone, developers, anybody who wants to talk about Aptos or talk about Lava DevRel. We've got a developer champions program that's coming out. So please, don't feel afraid to confront us.
Do you happen to have like a twin brother or sister by chance? Because I'm actually hiring for a DevRel, and I would love just like a copy of you, my friend.
By chance, I don't. But with the way AI is progressing, you may be able to call me.
I'm like, that's exactly what I'm trying to hire someone to do in these spaces. So y'all are crushing it. Lava's lucky to have you. I'm not publicly poaching, I promise.
I actually have a twin, so that would work out, I think, differently.
You know, we can fork some of our members, and
Look at what y'all are doing.
Love it. Oh, who's up here? Oh, Coney's up. What's up, guys?
Hello there. Thanks for having us on, and thanks to all the knowledge that people are putting out there on this show every week. Appreciate what you guys are doing with nodes. My question is if you could comment on maybe some of the experiments you did earlier on about what loads were like running across like cloud providers versus in-house, like AWS, Google Cloud, just running your own tech at a colo. I was kind of wondering what kind of findings you had earlier on.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. You know, currently, because every provider is providing the service in a specific region, we are maintaining a very low, we're trying to maintain very low latency and high performance in order to bring the dApp the best service they can. So currently, you know, I'm not sure which specific regions you're talking about, but we're kind of agnostic to if it's one of the cloud providers.
Cool. So are you guys running like a Terraform based deployment where you can just like swap configs for AWS or Google Cloud or something like that, depending on what latency you can get in the area?
So each and every provider is decide what kind of infrastructure they want to spin up, right? Because our main goal is to connect between the provider and the dApp. So the communication eventually is peer-to-peer protocol, and so in order to achieve the highest performance there.
Awesome, cool. Thanks for the explanation.
For sure.
Also, massive congratulations to the Iconia team for their recent announcement on their raise. It was what, 6.5 million you guys raised, especially in these market conditions? Huge.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. It was 6.5 million led by Dragonfly.
Huge. Congratulations. What are the... Oh, someone go ahead.
Oh, I was going to have a question around the decentralization because we actually did tests I'm sure you're probably familiar with, we had our Aptos incentivized test nets back in the past, and we actually did a bunch of tests of performance across mobile areas, across mobile continents. I mean, how do you guys keep that in context with testing around performance and availability, considering certain areas in the world actually have significantly worse connectivity to other areas of the world?
You know, that's a great question. And I think it's the beginning when we looked at infrastructure, we wanted to solve this problem. We asked ourselves how we come up with the best service, best performance, but still don't impact the latency, and eventually we want to give a service all over the world. So we currently work with top providers that you have there in the market, and Lava doesn't add additional latency. Because there is an on-chain pairing mechanism that makes sure that the dApps is paired into the best provider by score, by the needs of the dApps. But following this process, the communication is only based peer-to-peer. So in general, when you think about that, the performance is depending only on the infrastructure provider. So Lava doesn't add anything, any delay or anything else that can slow down the ecosystem. And obviously, at the end, when we cluster the dApps and providers by geography, so we are addressing them to the best provider in the same region that excel.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I mentioned the pairing list functionality earlier, and one of the things that we're implementing is geolocation as a means to, as Yair mentioned, cluster providers according to geolocation. That doesn't mean you can't get a provider outside of a certain geolocation zone, just that there's a certain level of preference that could be exhibited in the protocol.
On the topic of decentralization and cloud compute, I guess I would like to hear others' thoughts maybe about if this is potentially a kind of like silver bullet for crypto in general, as a lot of people are spinning up X as a service. It seems like it's almost always deployed on some either AWS or Google Cloud. From my conversations with other founders, it seems like a lot of things go on there. I think that it's great that we have these different decentralization aspects. Like we can do about that, or if there's some kind of incentivization, some like proof of not AWS that might be necessary in the future. I guess I'd just like to hear what other people think.
I think one thing we can immediately say is that, Lava provides the permissionless marketplace for different types of APIs. So I think, at the risk of spilling the beans or saying too much, there's the possibility of different offerings aside from the ones we've currently imagined being offered over this same marketplace. I think we're currently working with a few decentralized or talking to a couple decentralized cloud compute providers to see just how possible some of this is, because it would be nice, as you say, to be able to move some of that infrastructure into a more decentralized and permissionless place.
And on top of that, we don't run the infrastructure. And the providers aren't run by us, right? So we kind of a cloud agnostic, provider agnostic. We are the keeper of the fact that the data should be reliable, the availability should be, as much as we can. So obviously inspiring to 100%. And at the same time, want to make sure that the quality of service is constantly scoring the service made by the provider.
Sorry, Austin, I cut you off earlier and, took us down a different path. I know I must have cut your vibe off.
No, you didn't. Don't let me interrupt. I think all of this is really important. I was just going to give some more of the spotlight to Akonia for a moment. So I don't want to pivot if we're deep into this right now, or if there's anything else you guys wanted to cover. By the silence, I will assume not. Well, while we have them up here, I wanted just Akonia to talk about what they're doing. Obviously, I think a lot of folks here are familiar, but I think giving a little background and some timelines here could be a good spotlight for y'all.
Hey, thanks, Austin. Yeah, so for those of us who haven't heard of our project before, Akonia Labs is building a fully on-chain and crankless order book for Aptos. So the entire matching engine and the order book data structures are all completely on-chain, and it runs autonomously. As soon as someone submits an order, it clears. So we've been building in this ecosystem since pre-mainnet, as early as April of last year. We've gone through a couple different iterations of the protocol. Our V4 is now audited and live on testnet. And with this recent fundraise, we are expanding the team across engineering as well as ecosystem support roles. So we want to make sure that we have all the tooling and infrastructure necessary to support builders, and that we can be forming those relationships in all regions of the world. So for anyone who's looking on our website, we have listings for full stack DeFi developer and an APAC ecosystem growth lead right now. And we think that these are going to help us, create these key initiatives to bring people on as fast as possible, build on the ecosystem. We're already working with DApp developers right now who have spun up some testnet integrations. We're working on co-marketing for that right now, so stand by. But the contracts are ready, and anyone who wants to start integrating at the Move VM level with a project that's been audited 3 times over, now is the time to start getting in early. And we're building out a lot of tooling and infrastructure, client libraries. They're going to help some people index data, integrate with the Akonia protocol as fast as possible. And our main goal really is to provide the settlement layer for Aptos DeFi. There's a really fundamental question in any DeFi application, that is, what is the price? And the answer to that question is, well, whatever someone is willing to take. And so if someone will buy or sell at this price and it clears, then that's the price. And so we're performing that price discovery, and we're creating a permissionless and transparent settlement layer that we think can ultimately provide a new form of global financial cooperation that creates a much more transparent and equitable and accessible venue than some of the things we've been seeing in centralized exchanges lately. And so long term, our vision is really to become the economic engine of tomorrow. And it begins with building out close relationships with the Aptos ecosystem developers, and then also making sure that we can support all kinds of exotic use cases on top of Akania, whether it's spot trading, margin trading, or other kinds of derivatives.
And it'll be great to be using decentralized infrastructure for everyone who's running on it, which is why we got Lava here. Thanks, Akania, and thanks always having you around, Noki. Does anyone else from the audience that wants to come up and have any questions for Lava? I was just going to say, Akania as well.
I was just going to say thanks, Greg. And you're probably busy on this Monday morning, but I have a surprise PR for you on the Aptos CLI, so you'll see that when you get to it.
Yeah, I did see it. I just haven't gotten around to it. That also reminds me that I want to remember to tell everyone that if you have any issues with the Aptos Core framework, feel free to open issues on the GitHub, as well as open any PRs if you want to change anything as well, or an AIP for an Aptos improvement proposal. We're a completely, it's the blockchain for you guys, right? It's Aptos means the people in Alone, and that means that really I only work for you guys. I don't work for myself. So I do want everyone to contribute and keep in fact in that they can help along. And if anyone has any questions or any concerns, feel free to always message me or the team as well, especially on their Discord.
What that translates into is give me more work.
I have a lot of work, Austin. Maybe I should give more work to you.
Yeah, you're on the Twitter Spaces asking for it. I'm staying quiet right now, but I respect it because Greg literally doesn't sleep. So
yeah, it's a personal problem actually.
On a completely side different note, looking through the people that are in here, it's kind of cool to see like how many different NFT profile pictures there are. I know I've been seeing like each week, I feel like we're getting more and more Aptos profile pictures, but like we got monkeys, spooks, the creatures, which the art on theirs is so good. Like your profile picture is super cool, Greg. We have apes, mavericks. It's like really awesome to see. And then we have some like OK Bears from Solana and stuff. It's really cool to see that grow over time, where we've seen more and more representation of these Aptos NFTs. So just like a random observation as we're looking through everything.
Yeah, and you know, I don't see anyone else asking for questions, so we could end early today rather than just stall. It's just what we might be doing.
I'm not stalling. This is my normal banter during these Twitter Spaces. I don't know what you mean, but no, I think it's an okay idea. If no one's got anything else, we can cut it short and give everyone some of their time back.
Okay, thank you very much to our guests today from Lava. Give them a follow as well as Akania, and I will. I'm glad to see everyone here, and I'll see you all next time at Move Monday next week. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.